Have you ever had the terrifying feeling of being in a different dimension or time has been altered? Kind of like a twisted deja vu. Well, I did this one time while camping. I was a teenager at the time who spent most of my time until then in Boy Scouts. I loved the bonds I made with other Boy Scouts and the outdoor adventures we had. One time while camping with my group, a few boys including myself ventured out into the woods. All of us have been scouts for some years now, so we were pretty familiar with the do's and don'ts of hiking through the woods. We walked in the same direction as to make sure we didn't get turned around and lost. We were looking for long sticks to use for cooking hot dogs and marshmallows for tonight's bonfire. After about 15 minutes of walking, we found enough and decided to return back to camp. Only one problem. Even though we were being careful, somehow we had become disoriented. It was the creepiest thing, and fear started settling in. The trees seemed to have naturally twisted and knitted together as to hide our path back. The path we had just came from vanished. On top of that, due to the thickness of the trees in the area we found ourselves, it was much darker than when we first entered the forest, making it even harder to spot a trail back. Another odd thing, the trees around us all looked the same. None of them looked different from the other. We started walking in what we thought was the way back to camp. We also began shouting for help, hoping someone at camp or nearby would hear us. After walking for a bit, we came across a cement path. No road to be found though. It was an eerie sight. It stretched for about 100 yards and was perfectly straight, like it divided the forest. One in the path just stopped. No road, clearing, or dirt path to meet it. At the other end was an old-looking shack. We decided to check the shack to see by chance if there was a radio, map, or something we could use to find our way back to camp. What we found in the shack was a bit unnerving. There were hooks, rope, multiple big knives, and some gloves on a bench along with some other tools. Nothing we seen to help navigate our way back to civilization. We were starting to feel a sense of panic come on. If those things weren't enough to give us unease, we spotted some dried spots of blood on the floor. At that point, we didn't waste any more time getting the heck out of there. Luckily, after only what seemed like 10 more minutes of walking, we came across a narrow road. A sense of relief came over us and then heightened when we spotted a lady walking alongside of the road. We hurried up to her and frantically asked which direction was our campsite. When we gave her the name of the campsite, she looked at us in a strange way. She said she doesn't recognize that name, but did tell us which way to head to another campsite that was nearby. While walking down the road toward the camp the lady pointed us toward, we checked our watches and cell phones. It showed that we had been gone for over an hour and a half. We eventually came upon the campsite nearby. It was our camp. Perhaps it was called something different in the past, and that is why the lady was confused when we gave the name. We found our scout leaders near the location of where the bonfire was going to be held. As we approached, one of the other boys started crying. I am assuming out of relief we made it back. We frantically went through the details of our ordeal and apologized for being gone for so long. The scout leaders looked at us in confusion. They said that we have only been gone for 20 minutes. In addition to that, they said there is no shack or cement path in the middle of the woods like we described that they know of. Just to be safe, after we described what we saw in the shack, they advised they would mention it to local authorities. I couldn't understand how we have only been gone for 20 minutes. Our watches and phones showed it was much longer than that. Did we somehow enter some kind of other dimension or area of time distortion? Later that year I quit the Scouts. That experience really shook me up. Also, I never go hiking into deep woods anymore. Have you or someone you know had any creepy experiences in the woods?